All right, welcome. Ever wondered how you can tell a computer exactly what to do just by typing and even get it to handle your boring tasks for you? Well, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to take a super fast trip from knowing nothing to writing your very first automated script in the Linux terminal. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with your first commands. Then, we'll figure out how to edit files right from the terminal. After that, we'll connect to other computers, and then, this is the fun part, we'll pull it all together to write and then power up your very first script.
All right, Section 1, your first Linux commands. Look, before you can start telling the system what to do, you kind of need to know who you are and where you are, right? So we're starting with the absolute basics, just getting our bearings inside this command line world.
So, every big journey starts with one small step, and ours is probably the easiest question you can ask a computer. Who am I? All you do is type, who am I, and hit enter.
And look at that, it answers back. The terminal tells you your current username is Ubuntu. See? Simple. Now you officially know who you are in this new world.
Okay, so now that we know who we are, let's start doing stuff. And what's really cool is that with just a few little commands, you can totally control your digital space. Think of it like this. mkdir is like make a new folder. cd is basically you double-clicking to go inside that folder. And touch, that's just creating a new empty file. Then you've got ls-la to see everything that's in there and mv to move files around. It's everything you do with your mouse, but honestly, way faster.
All right, so we've made a file, but it's just an empty file. So how in the world do we actually put some text in it? I mean, we don't have a mouse or Microsoft Word here. Well, that's where a cool little tool called a terminal editor comes into play.
And that brings us to Nano. It's a super simple, really friendly text editor that just lives inside your terminal. It's a three-step dance. You open the file with Nano, type whatever you want, and then to save and get out, you just hit Ctrl+X, then the letter Y, and then Enter. That's it. You're now editing files without ever leaving the command line.
Okay, but how do we know our text is actually in there? You know, trust but verify, right? We can use the cat command. It's a super quick way to just, well, spit out the contents of a file right onto the screen.
And boom, there it is. The text we typed is right there. It worked perfectly. Think about what you just did. You created, edited, and then read a file, all from the command line. That's actually a pretty big deal.
Okay, you've got the basics down for managing files on your own computer. So you know what that means. It's time to level up. Now we're going to learn how to connect to a totally different computer, could be across the room or across the planet, and control it.
The tool for that is called SSH, or Secure Shell. The best way to think about it is like a secret encrypted tunnel between your computer and another one. It lets you open up their command line and start typing away as if you were sitting right there. And the best part? It's all secure.
So SSH is great for running commands, but what if you need to actually move a file from your computer to that remote server, or vice versa? Well, for that, we have SCP, which stands for Secure Copy. It uses that same secure tunnel to move files back and forth. You just tell it SCP, what file to move, and where it's going. It's that straightforward.
Okay, deep breath. This is where everything we've learned comes together. See, so far, we've been typing these commands one by one by one. Now we're going to put a whole bunch of them into a single file to create our very first automated script.
But before we can write any of our own commands, every good script needs to start with this one special line. It's called a shebang, which is just a fun name. All it does is tell the computer, hey, when you run this file, I want you to use the bash program to understand all the commands inside. It's like the instruction manual for the script itself.
And here we go, our very first script. Seriously, it's this simple. It's just 2 lines. You've got the shebang on top, which we just covered, and then an echo command. Echo just means print this text to the screen. That's literally all there is to it.
So how do we actually run this thing? Well, you've got 2 main ways. The first is easy. You just tell bash, hey, bash, run this file. But the cooler, more powerful way is to actually make the script file itself runnable. You use a command called chmod to give it executable permission. Once you do that, you can run it directly, and that's the real secret to automation. Okay, having a script that just runs a list of commands is great, don't get me wrong. But you know what's even better? A script that can actually think for itself, react to things, and make decisions. So let's give our scripts a brain. And we can make our scripts interactive in a few key ways. We can use variables to store pieces of information. We can use read to literally pause the script and ask the user a question. Or we can use something called arguments, like $1, to pass information into the script right when we run it.
Okay, let's put that idea into practice. We're going to run a script called onescript.sh, but notice we're adding something after it, the word like. That's an argument. We're feeding the script information from the very start.
And this is the brain. Inside the script, there's a simple if-then-else block. It basically says, hey, look at that first piece of information we were given, that $1. If it's equal to the word like, then do this. If it's anything else, do that instead. This simple logic, this is the core of all smart automation.
And there you have it. In just a few minutes, we've gone from asking the computer, who am I, all the way to writing a script that can make its own decisions. You now have all the basic building blocks you need to start automating, well, pretty much anything. So the only real question is, what's the first boring, repetitive task you're going to build a script for?